Tomorrow is a mystic land where 99% of human productivity, motivation and achievement is stored. I mean, we all know this phenomenon. There's a task, we know we should start, and we simply don't. Procrastination. Procrastination means the notorious, unnecessary postponement of starting to work, interruption of tasks, so that completion is not possible or only under pressure. This is a widespread phenomenon. About 20% of the population is believed to procrastinate on a regular basis, and in academia numbers are even higher. Estimates go up to 70 to 80% of the PhD candidates to procrastinate on a regular basis. So the first thing to learn here is, if you feel you're procrastinating, you're not alone. But how to get rid of that? How to get rid of procrastination? I think one of the key questions is why? Why do you procrastinate? And the answers might not be as simple as they seem at first glance. Because the simple answer of, well, I'm just too lazy, or I can't get myself motivated to start, I think they underestimate the problem. The reasons for procrastination usually go much deeper than that. Procrastination has a lot of different reasons, and I will give you an overview to give you an understanding of what might be underneath the surface. The first one to mention is problems with goal settings. Well, everyone knows to be productive you need a clear goal. But how does a goal setting problem can lead to procrastination? If I don't know where I want to go, I don't know what to do. Also the feeling of better not make a specific goal statement, otherwise I will realize if I don't achieve it. People don't dare to be specific in their goal statements because they are afraid of not achieving the goal. Another reason that frequently leads to procrastination is perfectionism. As a scientist, you have to be precise. No question. That's job requirement. You have to be precise. But where is the border between enough precision and exaggerated perfectionism? That's a difficult question. And how does that lead to procrastination? Well, let me give you two statements that maybe show quite well how that can lead to procrastination. The first one is, if I don't start, I can't make any mistakes. So people tend to be afraid of mistakes. They are afraid that their solutions, their approaches, their way will not be perfect. And if it's not perfect, better not do it. So they push the task, they postpone it on and on again, because they are afraid of mistakes. The feeling of, as long as I don't see a perfect solution, I can't decide which way to go. So first I need the perfect plan, the perfect decision, and then I can follow my plan. So this is over-planning. People tend to make perfect plans but never start putting them into practice. Some people are not able to start their work if they don't see the whole plan, but if the project is too complex, it might not be possible to see the whole plan. If you do a PhD, you can't see the whole plan for the next 3 ± 5 years. Another reason that might lead to procrastination is the so-called imposter syndrome. What's the imposter syndrome? The perception of someone with an imposter syndrome is something like that. This is what I know, and that is what I think others know. This is very frequent among scientists. A good scientist knows all the open questions. They know what they don't know. And that's much more than others might know, but you still have the feeling that everyone around you has answers to your questions. Let me show you what reality looks like. Maybe you're right about your perception of what you know, but then you're completely wrong about the others, because it's like that. That's what they know. Not even your supervisor will know all the details of your research, of your experiments, of your theory, of the literature you investigate. They have a good overview. If they're good supervisors, they have an overview, but you are the expert for all the details. And of course you see all the others giving perfect talks. But then let me tell you something. Half of them suffers from the same syndrome. Okay, they tried to pretend to the outside that they are not fake because they feel fake. And then they are afraid of showing their weaknesses. By the way, the opposite of imposter syndrome is called Dunning-Kruger syndrome. That's the people who only know very little, but have the feeling that they know everything about this topic. People who think they understood coronavirus better than those who do research on viruses. Just by reading like 10 articles by people who don't know anything either. And then they're very convinced. They replace information by being convinced. That's called Dunning-Kruger syndrome. Why is that? Well, the explanation goes kind of in the similar direction. Imposter syndrome? Well, someone who knows a lot sees all the open and unanswered questions. Someone who only knows very little doesn't understand all those questions. They don't see the questions, so you have a closed image. Now, how does imposter syndrome lead to procrastination? Well, we're once again back to social anxieties. If I don't start, they don't realize that I'm complete fake and incompetent. So people tend to push tasks, not to start, not to complete them, such that they can always tell everyone, I could have started, I could have done it, I could have achieved it. And you have an excuse not to show your true self. Another reason that can lead to procrastination might be unclear or contradictory values and priorities. How's that? Okay, imagine the situation where you don't know what's important to you. So you don't see a good reason why you should complete the task. Or imagine a situation where the things you're supposed to do compromise your values, and doing them will undermine who you want to be. An example would be someone who agreed to do research on the so-called mice model, and then realizes that his or her values do not combine with killing animals. Maybe those persons don't dare to speak to their supervisors or to their bosses about their problem, and on the other hand, they don't want to kill that mouse. So one way out of that will be just to postpone the task, isn't it? And maybe never start with it. But then on the other hand, you don't get your research done. So in this case, procrastination is just avoiding the conflict. You could go to your supervisor and tell them, okay, that's not my project, give me something else. Or maybe it's even not your working group, go somewhere else. But you have to dare to do that. You have to bear the consequences. The lack of the ability to say no might be a reason that also leads to procrastination. Imagine the following situation. You agree to something because you thought it would be impolite to refuse. And now you realize how much you don't want to do it. One way out of that? postpone the task, isn't it? Never complete it. You agreed to help a friend to read their PhD thesis, to read their master thesis, and it's just a huge amount of work, and you know they would never do something like that for you. But you agreed because you were asked, and you were not able to say no in that situation. And now it takes weeks and weeks and weeks because you just don't want to do it. But you also don't want to say to that person that you will not do it. So it's once again, you avoid the conflict. Also, not being able to ask for help might lead to procrastination. Something along the line of, I can't do it alone, so I better not do it at all. People don't dare to ask for help because they think they should do it alone, but then they don't know how to start. Think of programming. Have you ever programmed? If you ever programmed, there are those questions that you know your colleague will answer in 5 minutes. And you need 5 hours. You need to find out which command to use. Why not ask for help? Yeah, well, I should be able to do it on my own. I don't want to bother that person. Yeah, maybe just ask the right question. Don't ask, like, can you solve that problem for me, please? Ask, how can I solve that problem? Another reason for procrastination might be insufficient planning. That is closely linked to goal-setting problems. However, here the focus is different, because if you have a problem setting the goal, you don't know where you want to get to. If you do an insufficient planning, that means you know the goal, but you don't know how to get there. I was not able to define the necessary steps to reach my goal. Now I don't know where to start. Imagine your goal is handing in your PhD thesis or your master's thesis or whatever it is. That's a huge task. Where do I start? Well, start writing. And then you have the fear of a blank sheet. If you have a detailed plan how to get to that thesis, it's much easier. Maybe the first step is to sit down and write the headlines. You don't have a blank sheet anymore. Next reason, I already mentioned that before, is low self-esteem. If you think that your performance defines your ability, and your ability defines your self-worth, and now you're confronted with a tough task, some people might react like this. If I'm not able, I'm not likable. Better not show my true self. So in this way, procrastination once again becomes a way to hide your insecurity. A very common reason actually is work overload. You have the feeling of, if I do that too, I'll just break down. In this sense, procrastination saves you from something like burnout. Procrastination means you postpone some of the tasks. You push them away, you just don't do it. And you do something else instead. In the case of work overload, you still have a lot of things to do and you just feel under pressure all the time. So maybe the way out of it here would be to reduce workload somehow. Well, this is a tough question, how to reduce your workload. On the top list of reasons for procrastination also is the fear of failing. The fear of not achieving what you think you should achieve. If I don't enter the race, I can't lose. That's the feeling you might have. And then you avoid the task by postponing it. And again and again. So you never measure your true abilities, and you also never develop your abilities. Not as straightforward, but actually very similar to fear of failing is fear of success. How might the fear of success lead to procrastination? And why are people afraid of success anyway? Well, the reason might be something like that. If I stand out, people will hate me for my success. So I prevent my success by postponing the task, by pushing it, by not starting at all, and thus failing. Imagine you come from a working class family and you are the first one to enter an academic career. The more you study, the more you might lose contact to the loved ones. You will think about different things. You will talk differently. This also might be a cultural reason. In some cultures, standing out is not accepted. It has been shown that there's a lot of persons avoiding the success. For example, by not starting the tasks they know they should do. They do that unconsciously. They avoid the success in order not to be excluded from their family, from their friends. Let me summarize. Why do we procrastinate? In most cases, procrastination has to do with one of the following things. A poor planning or poor goal setting. If the goal is not clear, or the steps how to get to your goal are not clear, you don't know where to go, you don't know how to start. Also, social insecurities play a large role. Fear of success, fear of failing, fear of not being good enough and showing your true self, showing your weaknesses. Procrastination as a way to hide your social insecurities. In the same direction goes low self-esteem. Procrastination might be a way to hide that you do not feel adequate where you are, that you feel like an imposter, that you feel like what you achieve is not or might not be good enough. And in all of these cases, procrastination has to do with our fears. So it's not about being lazy. It's not about lack of motivation. In many cases, it's about knowing what you're afraid of. If you want to solve that problem, you have to get to the root of it. You have to understand what is your reason for procrastination, because otherwise the things you might do just go into the wrong direction. Imagine you already have a work overload. You put yourself under more pressure because you think you're lazy. More pressure, more overload, you will tend to procrastinate even more. If fear of success is the reason why you really procrastinate, you did not know it. You put yourself under more pressure of more success, and you only increase the fear. So I think understanding the reasons why you procrastinate is one of the main things how to attack the problem and to get rid of procrastination, or at least get it to a decent level.